And the key to all of this is reindustrializing this nation fast and regaining that hard economic power that made this country a world leader in the first place.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Eclipse with Greg Reichow.
All right, well, good afternoon. As you've probably no doubt heard, there's been a lot of talk lately about what does it take to bring manufacturing back to the US. You know, is it the honey of incentives? Is it the stick of tariff bingo or roulette? I'm not quite sure which one of those two it is. You know, the reality is I've been building factories for about the first 25 years of my career, and I have to say, like, I think most of that is just noise at this point, because it doesn't really get to what drives fundamental long-term economics for factories. And, you know, in many ways, I think of incentives and tariffs as a bit like crack. It's, quite frankly, feels pretty good in the short term, it's pretty hard to get off of, and it leaves you pretty wasted at the end. So, you know, but there are a lot of important factors that go into figuring out where you're going to go build a factory. And it's things that we all know and have worked on. It's things like, what's the workforce? What's the logistics look like? The supply chain, adjacency to customers. But there's another really important element that's become very clear and very important for advanced manufacturing. And it's something that we actually already have solved back in the history of our country. So if you think back to the Great Depression in the rolling hills of Tennessee, great place to live, by the way. There was a really powerful idea that was born, and this idea was that you could go create prosperity through energy. And that started out with hydro, as you probably well know, with the Tennessee Valley Authority. But later on, when the reactors were fired up at Sequoia and at Watts Bar, it ushered in a whole new era of unprecedented economic growth for the area. To give you an idea, in the last 10 years, over $45 billion has been invested in that area into advanced manufacturing. So it really does work. Now, that's the good news. We really obviously do need to have stable, clean, low-cost base generation as part of how we go drive reindustrialization. The bad news is we are definitely falling behind in that area, but that is certainly about to change. And I'd love to introduce to you a founder that's going to talk about how he's going to go change that. He's an incredibly talented guy. He's full of a lot of energy and passion, and somebody that we are super excited to be supporting at Eclipse. Please welcome Jonathan Webb.
All righty. So it'll be an intimate little group here, but if there's one or two in the crowd that want to work together on the other side of this, kind of my initial message to the room is China's kicking our fucking ass. So as important as this group and this conference seems to be, and the ego of the tech bros that we all want to act like we're the biggest, baddest animals on planet Earth, not true at all. It's just flatly data-driven, not true. We've got to work together. You know, my kind of thought and, you know, Team USA is, I mean, we've got to figure out how to wear the badge on the front of our jersey. And with that, I've kind of asked my team that if anyone here, you know, at this conference, anyone in the nuclear industry that needs support, help, assistance, we're here to be helpful. Because at the end of the day, we either grow that pie together or we're fighting for scraps because China's going to win the energy race. They have 4 times the amount of power as the US, which means they're going to win the AI arms race, which means they're going to win the advanced manufacturing race. And where does that leave us? And as you know, that's the bottom line. So at the end of the day, either we can continue to work, we can work together to build the largest and most robust economy in the world, or we can all live in our silos. So kind of wanted to start with that one, which is, you know, we got Eclipse, who's an investor and greatly appreciated, coming in. Patrick Maloney at CIV was crazy enough to stand beside me day one and go help make this thing happen. And I think the mindset we're trying to bring to the industry, specifically the nuclear industry, is we got to be a convener to figure out how to deliver these power plants on time, on budget, at the lowest possible cost. There's a lot of companies designing new reactors. It's a really hard thing to do, and a lot of smart people are working on it. We're not doing that. We're doing, I still think as of today, I was just with Pete Senna earlier, who's the Chief Nuclear Officer at Southern Nuclear. If you don't know who Southern Nuclear is, they're one of the largest nuclear operators in the US. Yes, there could be better designs for people like Pete and other utilities to operate, but the real problem holding this industry back is not regulatory, it's not designs, it's not is it reliable or could we make it safer? It's simply we cannot prove to investors that we can deliver power plants on time, on budget. And so I still think as of today, we're the only company in the Western world, and I say Western world because I'll get to some of the other countries in a moment, that's purely focused on the deployment of nuclear power. And what does that mean? That means my job is if you're a reactor designer, whether you're Westinghouse, GE, Oklo, NuScale, TerraPower, X-Energy, whoever you are, after you've spent billions of dollars in R&D to go design and approve and permit and get ready to go, okay, we're gonna go get our reactors into the field, what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, building a nuclear power plant is not like building an office tower. We have to get out of this, the reactor is the problem thing. The American public is very confused. Policymakers are very confused. It would be like Airbus or Boeing saying, hey, I've got this new plane, but all those other planes are really fucking dangerous. I don't know if I'd fly them, I don't know if I'd get on them, but these new planes, you should buy. We as a nuclear industry have got to tell the American people, we have the safest, most high quality operating nuclear fleet on the planet. So whether it's a legacy design or a new design, they're all advanced, they're all great, and we're gonna need a lot of them. We're gonna need micro, small, we're gonna need large. But the reactor's really not the problem. We have the largest fleet of nuclear power in the world that's operating at the highest capacity factor, meaning at the highest performance. So whether it's old designs or new designs, we don't think that's the problem. What we do think is the problem is there's not a way to efficiently deploy these reactors, and that's run them through a supply chain, run them onto a construction site. If you look at Vogtle 3 and 4, the only two reactors built in our collective life, well, depending on how old people are here, but in the last 30 years, the only two reactors built took 10,000 people on that construction site. They managed the project with paper. Hundreds of thousands of pages of documents going around that construction site with wheelbarrows and wagons of paper. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is the US, the biggest, baddest country on planet Earth, the most technologically sophisticated planet or country on the planet, and we're managing a project of that size with paper. Unacceptable. My client is that frontline worker. Those men and women waking up in those construction trailers at 3 in the morning, if I don't get them every tool and technology this country has to offer, I should be fired. That's what we have to bring to this construction site. So what does that mean? Again, kind of here, doubling down, 80% of the cost of a nuclear power plant is the nuclear steam supply system, the reactor. We want to do all the other shit. None of the shit anyone else wants to do. Concrete, rebar, steel, labor. We want that. My job, if you're a reactor company, my job is to make your reactor as efficiently built as possible, because at the end of the day, you're going to get judged. Was the thing built on time? Was it built on budget? And very little of that is going to have to do with the R&D of your nuclear steam supply system. So we recently partnered with Palantir. The reason for that is we are hopeful that we might get on a construction site next year for a couple gigawatts of nuclear power plants that I'm not really supposed to talk about, but we're in an RFP process. Palantir, look, I'm not just a sales guy for Palantir. I'm telling you legitimately, this is that we are uniquely building, our team internally will own the IP and data, but to be able to use their secure platform where they've not had one data breach in the history of the company, announced with them a couple weeks ago. Since that time, in 13 days, we got 800,000 pages of documents from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So everyone trying to fight the regulator, I would say calm down and just go work with them. We walked in there with Palantir, and in 2 flipping weeks, I got every piece of document out of the NRC into this platform. We're building the most sophisticated data lake on planet Earth. Every mega project I can get my hands on, every document of a nuclear construction site's going in there. Everything we're going to use to build our projects, use AI and LLMs where they're needed. Get my team's advanced real-time monitoring of what they need to do. So when those thousands of men and women are showing up to my construction site, at 3 in the morning, they're gonna know exactly where they need to be at 3:15, exactly what they need to do at 3:20. The American spirit's real. We all feel it. That's why we're here. 100,000 people have died in coal mines. I'm from coal country. Don't fucking tell me we can't build nuclear power plants on time, on budget, and don't tell me that these men and women that died powering this country are gonna die in vain. We can do it, but it can't just be brute force. We have got to work together to get every tool, technology, and capability in this country into our frontline team's hands, and that's what we're here to do. So if you wanna go build nuclear, give me a call. Thank you all for having me.